Hello everyone, my name is Marcus from DM Photography, and in today's video I want to talk about this beauty here, the Leica CL Bauhaus edition that I bought earlier this year. The original model of the Leica CL was released in the year 2017, and this model that I purchased earlier this year is technically the same camera as the Leica CLs that were released at that time. So this is already quite a long time for a digital camera, so chances are that Leica is already working or maybe even in the final steps of releasing a successor to this camera. I have no idea what it might be called. I have no insights into Leica, so everything that I am potentially speculating in this video about any successor is highly speculative. So again, I have no facts or anything when it comes to inside information from Leica. But again, chances are they're working on a successor. Chances are also that while you're watching this video, maybe in a couple of weeks or months or maybe years, I don't know, maybe a successor to this camera is already on the market. Nonetheless, 4 years after this camera was released, I decided to purchase a Leica CL, let's call it 1, the model from 2017. Which has released or which has received all the firmware updates. So this is now the latest firmware version, and it is the Bauhaus edition. So the skin of it is basically the Leica Bauhaus. And this is what attracted me a lot actually to this camera. So I was looking to buy the CL Bauhaus edition already for a while, but I kind of like missed it when it came out, and I couldn't get my hands on one of them when they were released. They're a limited edition of the CL, and earlier this year I was lucky enough to find one of them brand new in the Leica store here in Zurich, and so I had to purchase it. I really love the look of it. It's like basically completely black. Even the Leica logo is black, and it has this Bauhaus lettering down here, and then again the overall Leica simplicity when it comes to the back, the front, and so on and so forth. So I really love the looks. This is very important for me when I have a camera, when I buy a camera, how it feels, how it looks when I use it. So I really want to have or get pleasure out of taking photos. So that is very important from a why did I buy the camera? And then secondly, from a technical perspective, and this whole video will not be a technical review. I just want to mention that from a technical perspective, the specs of this camera, and again, please go and search for other videos on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find videos that explain to you exactly the technical capabilities of it, but I can only say the technical capabilities of this camera from 2017 cover everything that I need in 2021. There's nothing this camera basically cannot do. It is equipped with everything that I need. So this was very important for me, that I don't buy a camera for the looks, but then I sacrifice something on the technical side and I'm unhappy with it. So it is a true joy to take photos with this camera. And yeah, so there is only one technical limitation that this camera has, but I will speak to that in the sense of the whole Leica lineup, be it for the Leica TL series or Q or Leica M systems. They all have the same, I call it now issue. It's not an issue because it is a design philosophy of Leica, but this camera and the use that I am envisioning it or for it has this one manko, and that is that it doesn't have a USB-C or USB charging port, right? So this camera is absolutely pure, the whole platform. There's nothing down here other than the batteries. There's nothing here. It doesn't have any ports for microphones or HDMI or anything. Same on this side, and the back side is absolutely clean as we know it from Leica cameras in general. Or let me actually hold it here. So it just has the screen, these 3 buttons that you might be familiar from the M system. And here, kind of like a D-pad, and that's all this camera has. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to have this camera was when I travel with it, and the missing USB port is a little bit of a problem because you cannot just go with your mobile phone and a mobile phone charger and this camera somewhere. You need to bring the original Leica charging adapter for the battery. That is a little bit annoying, but I must say, it's not a reason not to buy the camera. And again, the Leica Q has the same issue, or let's not call it an issue. So for the Leica Q, it's the same thing. Leica M, same thing. Leica TL system, same thing. I think it is just a philosophy at Leica to keep the cameras absolutely clean and beautiful. So it's not very handy not to have that port, but it's not a disaster, right? So I really love this camera, but this was the only thing from a technical side that I can tell you I really miss in this camera. Again, I wouldn't know myself where to put it and not basically mess up the beautiful design, but that's the only thing I just want to tell you. This is the only thing I found so far that I don't like about this camera. But now let's go away a little bit from why I like this camera to why the system, the Leica CL system, makes sense for me to use as a predominantly M photographer. And one of the main reasons that I like to have a small, in quotes, right, digital camera with me when I am on the way, for example, with my Leica M, especially the Leica M6. This one here, my analog, or one of my analog Leica M6s, is that, for example, if I have a black and white film in my Leica M6 and I see something beautiful, a subject that actually deserves color, I can always take the Leica CL and take that picture, right? So it is kind of like it can accompany me in my analog journey. And yeah, so it complements basically this camera for me in certain situations. Or if I run out of film, actually just 2 weeks ago, it happened to me again, and I didn't have the camera with me, which I regretted. So I try to carry it as often as possible with me as well. So that is reason number one why the system for me makes sense to have it to complement my photography with the Leica M6 in case, again, I want either color photos while having a black and white film in here, or I'm running out of film and I want to keep shooting. So that is one of the reasons. And then the second reason why I really like it is the fact that as a standalone travel camera, it's just gorgeous. I mean, it is really small and very light. Obviously, a cell phone is lighter and maybe smaller, but if you look at the dimensions of this camera, I mean, if you look at it from the side, Leica made the body the same thickness as the M6. And if I turn it like this, let me see if I can manage to do that. You can see that it's just a little bit smaller than the M6, but from the side profile, it's like really beautiful. It's really small. You can take it, you can hold it in one hand, as you can see. You can almost put it in your pocket. I can't fit it in my pockets, but you can almost put it in your pocket. And again, the only backdraw is you need to get a charger with you. If you go somewhere on a weekend trip or something, you can just take this camera and your cell phone charger. That's all. But this is really gorgeous if you just want to go on a small city trip. You don't want to carry your M, for example, or you go somewhere where you don't want to bring the M, maybe because you think it's too expensive to bring to that location. So the Leica CL is perfect with that regards as well. And I mean, now you might say, especially the ones who already know my channel, well, Marcus, but you have the Leica M-D. Why don't you just take the Leica M-D? So I also brought the Leica M-D today with me. So if you look at the Leica M-D and the Leica CL, the Leica M-D is a little bit more bulkier. So those Leica M262 and Leica M240 series before the M10 came out, they were a little bit thicker than the M6. So here you can see, or maybe you can see that it is thicker from the body and it's a lot chunkier, right? It is a lot heavier. So having the Leica M-D in my bag is a lot more uncomfortable than having the CL next to the M6 as a digital alternative if I want to take color pictures, for example, while I'm on the go. So this one is way more handy, way more lighter and smaller. Now, obviously here I have this thing here, so we can take this off, obviously, to make it more fair. It is more chunky, but not a lot. So before I had the CL, this is what I actually did, right? I took the Leica M-D along with my Leica M6 just for exactly the same reason, but now I'm very glad that I have the Leica CL to do so. And what it also allows me, by the way, is, and it is the third reason why the CL system makes sense to me. Let me put the M-D away again. So the Leica CL has an L mount, right? From the Leica L mount alliance or Leica Panasonic Sigma. They make this same lens mount that you can use on, Panasonic cameras, Sigma and Leica cameras, and you can interchange those lenses. In fact, the video that I'm filming right now is filmed on a L mount system with an L mount lens that I could take technically and put it on this camera, although this one will be way chunkier than the one that you see here. Also, I have an L to M adapter, so I could use my M lenses on this camera as well if I choose to do so. So I would have that flexibility with the mount and the system as such to stay in that same family of cameras. What I want to say from a technical perspective is this is an APS-C camera. Again, if you want to know what APS-C is, there are, again, many YouTube videos that might explain that. But generally, it has a crop factor, so if you've put a full frame lens on it, like a Leica M lens on it, it will have a crop factor, right? So this is now, for example, or this camera or edition came with an 18mm Elmarit TL lens, and this means this would be an equivalent of a 28mm Leica M lens, right? So for example, the one that I have here on the Leica M-D. So that's the only thing that you need to know if you want to adapt M lenses, for example, or full frame L mount aligned lenses on the Leica CL. There's a crop factor, but that's not a problem. That's all actually, right? The rest, sharpness and so on and so forth, are no problem at all. And yeah, maybe last but not least, this can fully serve as a secondary backup digital, back, so to say, for the M system. I personally don't have the use case, but in case you are in situations where you would have to shoot with two digital cameras because you want to have two lenses mounted, this could totally do the job. It's also a 24 megapixel chip like here in the Leica M-D, so they're pretty much equivalent, so it would also serve fine in that case. Again, I personally, in the way how I take photos, I don't have that use case, but again, it would be covered with the Leica CL. So overall, I must say this is a very solid platform with a beautiful look. Very simple from the front, and it doesn't attract attention when you do photography or street photography. The back is absolutely clean, like we know it from the Leica M system, just those three buttons, the D-pad, and then the top has these abstract buttons that you can freely or turn like wheels, and then buttons on top that you can freely configure to your taste. And it's really a joy to take photos with this camera. I really love it. And this is all I wanted to talk about this camera in today's video. In addition to everything else that I said today about this camera, what is left to say is that for me personally, this camera deserves its own spot, especially in my collection of cameras, to complement the Leica M system or my photography with the Leica M system if I don't use it as a standalone one on a small road trip. And this is also one of the paradigms I follow when I choose or buy new cameras, is to try to find cameras that have their separate spot and don't occupy a spot in the equipment that I already have. So I'm trying to not have too much redundancy when it comes to functionality, that I have to constantly think, do I want to take this or this camera today, because they kind of like occupy the same spot. I hope this video helped you. I hoped it explained why I like this system and why I think it makes sense, at least to me. Is this the best camera you can buy in this sector? Probably not. I don't know. For me personally, it is. But again, this video is not about which is the best, more, let's say, compact camera. It is more my journey that led me to this camera and how I use it today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below if you are shooting with the Leica CL as well, your experiences, the things you really like about the camera or you dislike about the camera. Also, if you had it and you sold it, tell me why you sold it in the end. I would be curious to have a good discussion in the comment section below. If you like this video, please, you know what to do with the buttons below the video. So with this, I would like to say thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.